Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In this episode, John and I are both going to pitch a prequel, and I guess you're going to find out what they are, and we're not going to tell you in advance. So, John's going to start us off with his pitch for a prequel, and word of warning: these are going to be a little looser than we do in general, but I think it'll still be fun. So, John.
Right. Like we're thinking this isn't the elevator pitch, which is whatever, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. This is going to be a 5, 10, 12-minute pitch. Um, like the coffee pitch, I guess. Although I've done some coffee pitches that were an hour. So um, I kind of want to, instead of telling you what the pitch is for, I'm just going to start pitching a sci-fi movie, and then you'll very quickly realize what universe it's in.
Or are you going to
Um,
use alternate names or?
these are all new characters.
Okay.
They're like this prequel. It has a lot to do with the first and second film. It's in the same world, but none of the same characters because it's maybe let's 50 years before the first movie. So the year is 2128, and we start in outer space in this shot of a giant gas giant and these moons and this futuristic silver spaceship that's on fire, and it's streaking across space and is going toward this moon that has an atmosphere and clearly some oceans. And we zoom in to this spaceship, and our main character, her name is Emily Dyson. She's a geologist. She's 25. She's racing through this corridor as there's explosions and sirens going off, and the captain of the ship is telling everyone to strap in, get to the bridge, strap in, because they're going to crash land on an alien planet. And as she's running, she's like a bulkhead explodes, and she sees three of her crewmates get sucked out into space. But she's safe. She closes a door. She runs up to the bridge. There's the pilot. Pilot's name is Gray, I think. There's the co-pilot. There's some other crew, security officers. They all strap in. The pilot's saying, we're going through it. We're going to crash land on this moon, unexplored moon. And they're coming through the atmosphere. Suddenly it's, blue sky. There's foliage, there's mountains, there's clouds. They crash land on top of like a mesa-like high peak that's surrounded by clouds. And the plane the ship stops, and there's this moment. Okay, we got to find out how many people died. The crew was only 28 people, and 9 have died. They try to, can we take off? No. Can we breathe outside? The computer says no, but the air pressure is basically same as Earth. So as long as you're wearing a respirator, and they call them, what do they call the respirators without using the exopacks? That's what they call it. These O2 regulator face masks. As long as they wear that, they can breathe in the atmosphere. So Emily and the head of the security officers and his 6 ex military guys with like laser guns, or no, they're not laser guns. They're like regular guns. They go outside and they're looking around. The spaceship is pretty messed up, but they think, with like maybe 6 weeks of work, they could take off again. And Emily walks to like the ledge of the peak they're on, and it's just clouds below. And then slowly, oh, no, wait, hold on, even better. There's an earthquake. And they're like, oh, what's that? And then there's kind of another earthquake. And Emily's like, what are these earthquakes? And then the clouds part, and she realizes, and we realize, that the mountain they're on is hovering 400 feet in the air, and we've landed on Pandora. And this
Mm.
is the prequel to Avatar. So they've crash landed on top of one of the Hallelujah Mountains. And maybe the pilot or co-pilot comes out and looks at the view and says Hallelujah. And therefore, that's how we got the name. And the earthquakes are from another floating mountain, just slowly kind of like rubbing against their one they're on and rubbing back. And so Emily, who's a geologist, she picks up some of the rock, she takes it back into the ship, and she puts it into the computer, analyzes it, and she realizes that this is a previously unknown mineral. And I wrote it down. The mineral superconductive properties allow it to float in basically any magnetic field. And she takes a bigger rock and a smaller rock, and it just hovers. And she says, "This is the most expensive mineral ever to be found in the known universe." And someone's like, "What are you going to call it? Like, Emily mineral?" And she's like, "No, this reminds me of when I was back at school. They talked about unobtainium." And someone's like, "Unobtainium, that's good. That's a good name." Because let's be honest, that's a stupid name for the mineral. But it makes sense if a geologist like, this shouldn't exist, but here it is. It's unobtainium. So Jim, he is the executive of this spaceship. He's kind of like the Burke character from Aliens. This we kind of realize that this ship, it's a publicly traded company's, basically a mining ship, and they had been on a scouting mission looking for basically this, but not as good, in a different solar system. They were on their way back to Earth when they crashed. And so the exec Jim, he sends a, I don't know, faster than light message to Earth, and they quickly get a response back that says, "Get as much of the minerals as you can and bring it back to Earth." So Jim says, "Emily and the captain and the security guards, you guys take one of our little flying ships called, in the first Avatar movie, they're called, what are they called? Samson? SA-2 Samson, like the helicopter like vessels, you know?" So our little crew, our little mini crew, they take this thing through the Hallelujah Mountains down into this jungle, very familiar looking jungle, and they get out. And Emily and them, they start collecting the unobtainium. And that's when a giant lizard like monster attacks. And Emily and the captain, they run one way, the security officers run the other way. The security officers get back into the helicopter and just leave them. And the monster is about to kill Emily and the captain. It wounds the captain. Actually, he gets knocked out, and Emily's about to get eaten. And that's when a 11-foot tall blue alien, one of the Na'vi, does like a flip, lands on the lizard's head, and like stabs it and kills it and saves Emily. And it's like a, let's say, a 25-year-old male Na'vi, blue, and she's looking up at him and he's looking down at her, and they don't speak the same language. He tries to speak to her in his language. She tries to speak him. It doesn't work. Finally, he says Chakre, and she says Emily. And we cut to, he's carrying the wounded captain, and Emily's following her, and we get this amazing shot of the giant tree from the first movie. And Um, uh, Navi warriors come out, the elders come out. They're looking at the sky people, these tiny little sky people. They saw the ship crash, but they kind of, kept their distance. I'm not sure what they were. And Shockray, on behalf of Emily, says, we need to help these guests. And the elder's like, okay. And Emily, so the Navi take the wounded captain. He's still unconscious. They start using their like herbal medicine on him, and Emily spends about 3 days with Shockray and the Navi, learning about their language, their culture, and Emily and Shockray even start to have romantic feelings. Even though he's, she's 5 feet tall and he's 11 feet tall. But they're so curious about each other. It's kind of cute. And Emily, at one point, she sees some like 6 foot tall kids, Navi kids, playing this game. It's kind of like marbles, but it's floating marbles. They take little pieces of the unobtainium and they put another piece on top, and it kind of hovers. And another kid, Navi kid, does it, and they try to knock each other's unobtainium marble off of each other's thing. And it's this cute little game, but that'll be important later. So
That's a quick question.
yeah,
So Emily is not a young Sigourney Weaver.
no,
She's someone
she's
else.
someone
Okay.
else. We actually do see in the epilogue, we do see a very young Sigourney Weaver arrive. Thanks for ruining that. And I'm already too long. It's already too long. But so we cut back to the ship. And do we cut back to the ship? Yeah, we cut back to the ship, and the exec Jim receives another response. No. Okay, we have that. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so after 3 days, the captain of the ship, he finally starts to wake up. He's like, "Oh my god, blue aliens, but they're super nice and they saved my life." Emily's there. Yeah. She already knows some of the Navi language, just like hello and big tree and, love and family. We cut back to the ship. The exec Jim is like, hey, or someone is like, hey, I see Emily and the captain's transponders have finally started working again. And they're moving. They're alive. So the security guards, the security guys, they take their Samson and they fly to the giant tree. And there's suddenly a standoff between the humans with their machine guns and the Navi with their bows and arrows. And the humans shoot first. They kill several of the Navi warriors. A couple of the security guards are killed. One of the security guards accidentally shoots and kills the captain. And they leave again. The security guards leave, and Emily is left alone with the Navi. And Emily and Shockray watch as the Navi do their funeral practices, laying their dead by the glowing tree, the smaller glowing one, And they also lay the Captain Porter's dead body by the tree. Emily and Shockray speak with the tribal elders again. Emily asks for the tribe to take her back to the ship so she can explain to her crew members the Navi are not a threat. So Shockray takes Emily on the back of one of those flying like pterodactyl mountain banshees things, the dinosaur-like, flying thing. And while they're flying, Emily says to Shockray, your people have been calling me the sky people this whole time, but you guys are the real sky people. Very funny. So Shockray drops Emily off, and he kind of flies away, but he stays close. And she goes to the ship. She confronts the executive and the head of the security force. She accuses them of murdering the innocent Na'vi and the captain. But things have changed. The exec has received another message from Earth saying, prepare landing zone for military reinforcements. Emily protests, saying, according to Earth law, no alien world can be exploited if there is a complex alien civilization found on the alien world. But the executive says this is not a complex alien civilization. These are savages with no languages, no customs. We can exploit them as much as we want. Emily disagrees, but then she gets locked up in the ship's only jail cell. She watches as the security force guys set up, reinforce the top of the mesa and set up a landing zone. And this is our low point. So Shockwave sees kind of this through windows and stuff. He goes back to the Na'vi elders, asks them to help Emily. At first, the elders are like, they don't want to get involved with the Sky People's business. Their weapons are too powerful. But then Shockwave gives this impassioned speech, and the elders agree. We cut back to the cell. Emily's distraught. She can't get out. And then there's an enormous earthquake. This one's enormous. It knocks all the security guards down. It knocks their, they've set up like auto turrets. They get all knocked down. And the head of security force, he runs out and he looks over the ledge, and like 400 Na'vi warriors, all on their mountain banshees, are using one smaller floating mountain, and they're pushing it, and it's slamming against the mountain they're on. And then the mountain banshees attack. Many Na'vi warriors are shot out of the sky, but the security force guys, now there's only like 5 of them. They're totally outmatched. Shockwave gets aboard the ship. He saves Emily. All of the security guards are dead now, except for the last guy. He wounds Shockwave. He stands over him, smiling. He's about to kill him. And then Emily stabs him in the back. He dies. And then the Na'vi warriors surround the ship. They bring out the rest of the crew. And Emily tells the executive to call off the interstellar invasion and to tell Earth that the Na'vi are not to be exploited, that they are a complex civilization. Jim sends, the exec sends the message, but will Earth follow the law? Our epilogue is weeks later. A small ship does land and is met by the Na'vi elders. A small delegation of Earth scientists and geologists meet the Na'vi elders. They explain that they wish to peacefully coexist with the Na'vi and mine only a small portion of the unobtainium. The Na'vi elders agree. From a distance, Emily and Shockwave watch. Emily wonders if the humans will keep their promises to the Na'vi. The two of them, holding hands, fly off into the sunset on the mountain banshee. The end. The problem is,
And
how is she going to survive not being able to breathe? Maybe the ship that crashed is still there, and that's where she kind of lives. I guess that's just how it is. And maybe like her O2 generators replenish from pulling, I don't know, some of the oxygen out of the air. Maybe Emily should die, so that's why she's not in the next movie. But maybe she dies 30 years later. So when in the delegation of scientists, a very young Sigourney Weaver, like a 22-year-old Sigourney Weaver, is one of the characters.
yeah, I was thinking about it because in the first movie, she was probably at least 60, right? So if this was 50 years before, she'd be around.
That's a good point.
But maybe she's 18 or
Yeah, maybe
something.
she's a kid and she for some I don't know
Uh,
why she'd be on this delegation ship. Yeah. That's true.
in the first movie, there's the chieftain and his wife, who's like the witch doctor,
Yep.
kind of. Are they in this movie as younger
I mean,
versions,
so
or?
w- um, I wrote this in 25 minutes, and I was thinking, yeah, like we could have a bunch of characters, maybe even, um, well, what's her head, the the lead Navi character, and the who's the actress? What's the actress's name? That plays like the love interest to the main character, the hero. Zoe
Zoe
Saldana. So
Saldana.
maybe Zoe Saldana is in it as like a little kid, but I don't think the Navi lived that long. So I don't think it really makes sense. But yeah, like the two
Yeah.
elders could be maybe the elder is Chakre, and we changed Chakre's name to
Mm.
whatever the elder's name was.
This sounds like perfectly plausible that in like 10 years, this is going to be a TV show on Disney Plus,
Right? Or
you
or
know?
or
And
James
it,
Cameron is like he gets a young up and coming first time director that he likes to do this one shot prequel, that's in the same world but very different. Like the whole movie takes place, instead of over 6 months, like the first two movies, they're over long periods. Um, that this one's just like whatever, it's 3 days and it feels very smaller and contained. Um, but you still have like incredible action sequences.
mm,
I don't know what director that would be, but yeah, like some younger director that James Cameron's like, yeah, we'll give you $50 million, and access to my VFX company, something like that. Or yeah, it could be a Apple TV movie show.
well, he's directing the next one, but isn't he handing the keys over to someone for the final? I thought he's not going to finish them, right?
I don't know.
Hmm. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Interesting. I thought Avatar prequel, I thought, Jake Sully, like what happened to him, why is he in a wheelchair, that
right.
kind of thing. But this story, like I said, obviously opens it a lot more to milk it.
Yes, yeah, you could be called Avatar First Contact. I think I had it as
Mm,
what I have it down. What I Avatar Crashdown. Um,
mm.
but yeah, it's a much smaller, more contained Avatar movie with still the big action sequences.
All right, so for my idea, I actually kind of have a hybrid. It is a prequel slash sequel,
Okay,
and it'll never be made, never. Which is why I feel it's a good idea to present here.
sure.
And you'll know why as soon as I tell you. It's basically Die Hard 6, right? Four,
Okay,
five, six, and it would have Bruce Willis back, and so it'll, right. Unfortunately, due to reality, it'll never be made. But it's a prequel slash sequel in that there's a good amount of flashbacks in the movie.
okay.
And so in that way, it's a prequel setting up the sequel elements of it, going between past and present. Anyway, and also, I'll just say I'm thinking it's a way to go directly from part three to part six with not cutting out four and five, but just kind of ignoring them because,
Because
frankly,
those are
they
the
suck.
weakest one. Yeah, 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 yeah. One, two, and
uh,
three are yeah. One is great. Two is a lot of fun, and well, three is a lot of fun, and two is a good action movie.
Mhm. So, so the movie starts with John McClane, and he's retired now, and he's living, uh, you know, by his standards, kind of a boring life, and he's been reunited now with his wife
Okay.
from the first movie and the second
Bonnie
movie.
Bedelia?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just saw in her movie, so I know she's still around. But so he's even so in the beginning, it's just like the two of them. They're I don't know, maybe they're in Long Island or they're in upstate New York now, whatever. And
Okay.
he's got like a fishing trip planned with Samuel Jackson's character in the future, right?
All
But
right.
still, he's kind of bored and he's just watching football. And so he's like, I'm gonna go run to the convenience store because he's not supposed to be smoking anymore, but he still does on the side sometimes. So
All right.
he goes to get a pack of cigarettes, and this like SUV pulls up, and these three hooded guys come out and they try to kill him. And there's this like action scene, of just driving through, the suburbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be very grounded like the original with the action sequences, stunt sequences. They're just trying to kill him and it's crazy, and but he survives and he kills them. And
Mm-hmm.
then he's looking who it is and he doesn't recognize anyone, but he sees like this symbol, maybe like the calling card, and I don't know what it is, but
Okay.
maybe you'll have an idea later. All right. Then we cut to Los Angeles, still present day, and we're with Kurt Russell, and he's friends. He's a retired security guard, and he's also, just living his retired life now. And we see that he's friends with Sergeant Al Powell from Die Hard,
Okay.
although now he's retired. He retired a deputy chief or something,
Okay.
but they're buddies. And this is now we get into the flashbacks because we actually flash back to the day of the first movie, in 88,
Okay.
let's say. Um, and we're with Kurt Russell, and we see that he was a security guard at some fictional art museum in
Okay.
LA. And what we find out is that the heist on Nakatomi Tower was one part of the plan. It was actually
Mm.
kind of a diversion as well, because at the same time, this art museum was the victim of a heist.
Okay.
Like billions and billions of art, precious, priceless art.
Paintings and
So,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
And so he was the security guard, the chief security guard on duty that night. And so we're probably using de-aging technology here, right?
Or get Wyatt Russell to play
Yeah,
Kurt Russell, young Kurt Russell.
could be, but I thought so. The person that he's dealing with is not Hans Gruber, right? But it's Jeremy Irons from Die Hard 3. So I was
Hans
thinking, oh,
Gruber's
we've
brother.
de-aged. Yeah, we've de-aged. I think his name's Simon, right? Simon Gruber.
Sign Grimmer. Yep.
We de-aged Jeremy Irons as well because
Okay.
he's the main villain. So it's kind of like Die Hard, and just it's the two of them going at it that night. But because everyone's attention is focused on Nakatomi Tower, it's a lot low key. Like the press don't show up.
Okay.
It's the cops don't show up. Maybe it's more of a cat and mouse kind of thing. Um, but anyway, Simon Gruber obviously gets away, and he gets away with a lot of the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But someone else dies, and I'm thinking maybe it's someone related to them, someone maybe who bears the Gruber name. Um,
Oh, okay. Like the younger
poss-
brother, Paul Gruber.
Possibly.
Young Kurt Russell kills him
Mhm.
as they escape. Whatever.
So we cut back to the present now after this sequence, and same thing that happened to John McClane earlier. These guys show up and they're trying to kill Kurt Russell now, right?
Okay.
And Kurt Russell succeeds in killing them, but Sergeant Al Powell gets killed.
Oh no.
I know. In my pitches, someone always dies, right? But uh, Sergeant Al Powell dies, but that's a way to get McClane to come to LA to attend the funeral, and he meets Kurt Russell. And now we've got the two of them together, and
So this is
they
like the
both
midpoint.
I guess.
At some point in the second act. Okay.
Yeah, very loose, right?
It's
So
okay.
the two of them meet now and they start talking, and this is the first time in decades, right, where they realize they have this connection to the past.
Okay.
And then more guys show up to try to kill them, right? So now we find, the same people are trying to kill both of them. They don't know why, but they feel it's got to be connected to what happened to them 30 years or 40 years ago.
Okay.
Um, and now the action takes them to the Bahamas.
Okay.
And I was thinking it's because in Die Hard, Hans Gruber says, they're gonna make off with this money and then live on a beach. Uh,
Earning 20%.
wow, yeah, right.
Okay.
Uh, so they make it to some crazy rich island, and there's somebody like Anthony Hopkins who he's the bad guy, but he's kind of infirmed. He's like on his deathbed, maybe,
Okay.
and he is a Gruber. And so,
Is he the patriarch?
well,
Is he
I was
Hans
thinking
Gruber's?
he's like the older brother, right?
Okay.
But as British actor playing a German character, kind of that thing where
It's
it's
acceptable. It's
him,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, kind of sticking with the theme.
Oh yeah,
So
that's true.
he's
Right. Yeah. Of course.
so he's on his deathbed, and for him, it's like he's trying to tie up these loose ends and you know, get back at these people who have
Who
killed
killed
members
his
of his
who
family.
killed his brothers, his younger
Yeah.
brothers? Okay.
So the action, is happening on and around this island.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
And he escaped with all the art, so he's a billionaire or whatever,
yeah,
or
it could be.
multi millionaire.
Yeah, that's plausible that he'd be there too, and we'd see him de-age as well and everything.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Uh, oh, maybe okay, maybe he was wounded in that on that night. Maybe
At the
he was
museum,
paralyzed
oh,
or something like that,
okay.
and he's always held a grudge. But then, of course, these men, especially John McClane, right? He killed
Two of
the
his
two,
brothers. Yep.
but yeah,
And
but
a
he's on
young
his
Kurt
deathbed
Russell
now,
made him infirm for the rest of his life.
right?
Okay.
Uh, so he's got sons and grandsons, and
Mm-hmm.
they're involved,
Yep.
perhaps. So it's really by the end of the movie, McClane has successfully wiped out the entire Gruber family.
So not just
But
McClane, but also the Kurt Russell character, the two of them
yeah,
together.
right.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of like it makes it. If we're thinking it goes Die Hard 1, Die Hard 3, and then Die Hard 6,
Uh huh.
and they're all about basically McClane versus the Gruber clan, right?
Yep.
This would ultimately wrap that all up and show that not everything was not coincidental in some way, um, because of the other goings on that night.
Okay.
But I thought it'd be a cool way to use that de-aging technology, um, and also add another element, bringing it back to the first night or first day that everything went down,
Yep.
right? 40 years ago. Uh, so that's basically it. I would kind of ignore like him. In part five, he has like a, yeah. In part five, you see like his adult children and stuff, right? John McClane.
I think
I would
4
just,
and 5, right? 4 he has he spends with a daughter, and 5 he spends with
oh
a
yeah,
son
yeah,
in
yeah,
like
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
Russia.
yeah. So I would just, I would not include them, right? They don't need to be part of it.
Yeah, there could be
Um,
photos of them on the mantle at him and his wife's house in Long Island.
mhm. um, so that's it.
Yeah, so there's no like
Short.
it's more contained. It's more like the first and second or and even third movie, there's no Harriers shooting rockets at him, right?
Right, it would yeah, I would really want to, obviously, the de-aging would require a lot of CGI and stuff, but,
Did you see the most recent Indiana Jones movie where they
mhm,
de-aged Harrison Ford? That's definitely the best de-aging I've ever seen.
yeah,
But it still wasn't perfect. But like the close-ups of him, insanely good. There were a couple of
and they
far shots that looked a little wonky, I thought, but it was like the first 25 minutes of the movie, and that looked fantastic. So it can be
right,
done.
so that flashback could be, like, almost 30 minutes or let's say
Yeah,
it'd be g but I think that'd be a fun way too if we're back in the '80s and it's like an '80s action movie again,
right. And
that
you've got
flashback.
young Kurt Russell in the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fun.
um, and then, at the end of the movie, like, all the bad guys are dead, and maybe it's, like, Bruce Willis and Kurt Russell are in a boat or lifeboat on the water or something, and they're like, "Oh, man." They're like, "What do we do? What do we do now?" And they're like, "Let's go fishing."
Because they're old.
They're
They're
all
old
they're
guys. They're all like
yeah,
bloody and
well,
messed
they're
up, and
yeah, they're all
they got
bruised
their
and bloody,
beers,
but they're on this boat, and they're like, "Oh, they got fishing rods on there." They're like, "F it, let's
and they're
fish."
surrounded by like Monets and Degas that they found. There's like a Rembrandt, and they're just like using it as a footstool.
Mhm. And,
That's
I feel that would be a lot better send off for Bruce Willis and John McClane, and because now, and they're talking about making a prequel to Die Hard or an actual prequel to Die Hard, which sounds terrible, right? Because who could replace Bruce Willis?
yeah. I mean, I don't even know why you would. If I do really like the idea of a second heist happening in Los Angeles at the same time by a different Gruber brother. I love that idea.
Mhm.
But like, if you did that, then John McClane's like, if that's the movie, right? If it's just at the uh, where what I mean, I guess it would be at LACMA, right? Um, in Mid Wilshire. But if it was just that and the
Uh,
two security guards or three security guards against German guys with submachine guns, that would be like it'd be a Die Hard movie, right? But then John McClane's
mm.
not in it, so I really like the idea that you created. Um, and then yeah, I mean, it would be really cool to have old Bruce Willis and old Kurt Russell take on um, a bunch of German bad guys.
Yeah, and I think the two of them would be good together, playing off one another.
See, if someone had thought about this 15 years ago instead of
Mm.
doing Die Hard 5, I think actually Die Hard 4 may be the worst one with where it's like I don't know, hackers
It was the
the
hacker.
hackers take
Uh,
over
that was
everything. It makes no sense. Although the
that was just
the fifth
bad.
one where they end up in like
Russia
Rush,
or
yeah, yeah, and it's just like, why are we watching this movie? And then his son is like a CIA spy, and yeah, both those movies. That's the one. This is the one they should have made instead of 4 and 5. Take the budget from four and
or
five and make this one.
I just have to say, for I think Bruce Willis, he looks good with his shaved head.
Yeah,
Uh, we're we're going back a few years now when he was still making big movies, right? But he looks good with a shaved head. But I never bought that for John McClane. I feel I feel like John McClane would still be sticking to his. I mean,
his short
why not
haircut.
give him? Well, he has that receding hairline,
Yeah.
but why not just give him a wig with keeping that receding hairline? I feel like John McClane needs his hair for some
Really?
reason.
That's
Yeah,
a weird.
like it's not
I
the
think,
same. It's not the same having him with the shaved head.
but he's got the shaved
You
head in the
know,
third one, right? Or near.
no,
No, no, I remember it wrong.
he's got
Is he,
hair.
but it's like a buzz cut, right? Or no, is it not? I guess I haven't seen it for a while.
No, no,
He just got he had hair then.
it's just still receding. But just give him a receding hairline wig. I mean,
I mean, wigs are
I think
amazing.
if I don't know, for some reason I feel that's more in line with John McClane's character than having him.
That's a weird. You're like, he's got to have hair to be John McClane.
I don't know. I need to Photoshop a picture of Bruce Willis and show you.
Because one's Bruce Willis and one's John McClane. Okay.
Mm. And with the cigarette, and everything.
Yes,
Like, why not?
He does have to smoke.
Maybe, I don't know. I was kind of thinking, what if the security guards working with Kurt Russell, could they be guys from the 80s too? And they have been de-aged, but that would probably get too
Like
expensive.
who? What if you got the guy? What's his head from They Live? What's his name?
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah, the
wrestler.
wrestler with the glasses.
Oh, or you mean
The
the
white
white
guy.
guy
The
or the
white guy.
black guy?
Or both.
Oh,
You definitely both. But
I think he died.
when
I think he
you
may
get
have
his
died.
estate to allow them to make a CGI double.
But the other guy, Keith
Keith
David,
David.
he's still
Yeah.
around. But yeah. What's It's like, how many people are you de-aging now? And like, that'd probably get way too expensive.
Right. It's not really the movie. If you want to start de-aging everybody, you do like
Yeah.
Escape from Miami or something. You do a prequel to Escape from New York. A prequel though, Snake Plissken, and it's Escape from London. And this is how Snake Plissken became Snake Plissken. And you start de-aging everyone from like the 70s and 80s. Yes.
All right. So that was this episode and our prequels. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.